Okay, let's go over just a little bit about you. Where were you born?
In Chicago. I was 3 months old when my folks moved to Glen Ellen.
Oh,
So,
you are a lifelong Glen Ellen.
and about 30 years ago, we moved to Wheaton.
What did you do before you went into the service?
I was in the high school.
Oh, you went directly from, wow.
Turned 18 years old when I was in the senior year at Glenbard High School, before it was Glenbard West. And they wanted to put me in the Navy, and they said, no, my brother's a lieutenant in the Army. I want to go there. And they said, no. They didn't want to have, too many of one family like that. And I was lucky I went in the Navy because all of the guys that went in the Army were over invading France, Omaha beachhead and whatnot. So.
Oh, wow. So when the recruiter or they said not to
Yeah,
join
they said
the Army.
I'd be in the Navy, so I was glad. Well, I was drafted.
You were drafted?
Yep. November of 1943.
Where did you go for training?
Right at Great Lakes Training Center. Great Lakes Naval Training Center for boot camp. And then I'd heard the thing to do was to get into signaling. And so I applied for what they call MERSIGS school. That's merchant signaling. We're still full-time Navy people, not merchant marine, but you're on a merchant ship in convoy duty. There's 2 signalmen and about 15 so gunner's mates that handle all the guns on the ships, and Liberty ships. And I went to Noroton Heights, Connecticut for MERSIG school. I graduated there, and then I went to New York City and got on my first ship, which left, early 1944, 2 months after the invasion of Omaha Beach. So it would be, about midsummer. Left to join the convoy outside of New York. I was on the Commodore of the convoy. In other words, we could have ships down to the right and left, and then down back behind. Many times 50 or 60 ships. And since I was a Commodore of the convoy, anything that the destroyer escorts would tell us we had to do, I had to receive it and then send it down the starboard side, the port side, and aft in the columns. The ships were all going across the Atlantic in formation. And we were 200 miles south of Iceland. Boy, it was a cold.
Wow.
I had every piece of gear on. I was still cold. I'm on the bridge.
Oh.
But I got into it actually in 44, and drafted in 43, but then I was in this across the Atlantic in 44. I was not in the initial, like 1941 and 42, where they really had a real rough time. When I was in, it wasn't that rough at all. We lost, one ship in one of the convoys. We had torpedoes shot at us and some aircraft, but that was all. I never really had any trouble when they went across.
So you were torpedoed, you said?
Well, we had torpedo missile bow of our ship. Yeah, very close by 20 feet. We stood there and watched it go by. Never got hit.
Did you ever run into your brother anywhere?
I was on Omaha Beach, and they had what they call the Red Ball Highway to the front lines. I could have gotten on one of those trucks and gone to the front lines to see my brother. They said, you want to go ahead and do that, they'll take you right out of the Navy and put you in the Army right there. They needed men so bad. I said, well, I don't think, I never did it. I never went up to the front lines to see my brother.
No.
He'd have probably said, what are you doing here? But that difference of Liberty ship, it was totally welded. Henry Kaiser, designed and built all those Liberty ships. And he mass produced them. Welded. And you go up over a wave and the whole ship, bum, 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 bum. But when they got on that Carrillo, the riveted ship, refrigerator ship, it's a welded ship, and it would go like this. The whole ship would bend.
Wow.
It's true.
Were you sick?
Never ceased, not once. All the time I traveled.
Wow, that's great.
For some reason, I just sat up there and watched the waves.
I bet you saw a lot of sick people though.
Oh, yeah, yeah, even the Navy guys that had to be at the helm of the ship were up there in they just, let me out of here.
Did you work like 12-hour shifts?
Not 12-hour, no, we were on 4 and off 4, and that was miserable. Because you'd just be up there for 4 hours, when you come down into your bunk, you wouldn't take your clothes off at all.
Right.
Your heavy clothes, you'd lay down in your bunk and get as much sleep as you could, and then you had to go back up again. Jeez.
Why did they do it that way?
I don't know. That's the way they did it.
So your job was basically just to look for,
I was up on the bridge of the ship all the time. And we did have to learn how to use the guns. I had a 6-inch gun on the bow, no, 4-inch gun on the bow, 6-inch gun on the stern, and 8 20-millimeter guns on the sides. And we had to use them. We had to learn how to use them, which we did. There was probably a good 40 or 50 ships. I think that we would go down each side, a good 5 or 6 down each side, and then 6 back.
wow.
And when you get into rough waters there, and real, deep 50-foot waves in the North Atlantic, and you'd look around and there was some ship right next to you. You didn't know what you're supposed to do, didn't know where to go. Especially if we had to make a 45-degree emergency starboard turn. That's, in other words, the escort told you what to do. We had to blow our whistle, and all ships in that convoy would go 45 degrees like this. And geez, they'd be all over the place.
Why would you have to do that?
To get away from submarines, German submarines.
Oh,
Yeah. Jeez. We used to throw apples back and forth from one ship to the next. We were so close.
and nobody,
So I ended up in Oban, Scotland, came down through Belfast, North Ireland, and down to Omaha Beach. And we unloaded the ship there.
it was it supplies or troops or?
No, this was strictly supplies, everything they had to have. One time we went across, the entire ship was loaded with anti-aircraft ammunition. And when you have a general quarters, these guys would say, "Where's my life jacket?" We say, "Forget it, you don't need it. If we got hit, you'd never see a thing of us."
Wow.
But we luckily never got hit, so.
So you went down to Omaha Beach and then back.
Yeah, and we were there for several weeks until they unloaded the ship. And then we went out back into the Atlantic Ocean and formed another convoy to go back. Because at that time, you had to stay in a full convoy all the time with the destroyer escorts around you. And it's funny how sound travels under the water. When they would throw their ash cans, that's these depth charges, and they throw them over, have them go down and try to blow up a submarine. You could hear it. You could stand on a ship, click bang, click bang. They didn't have to call it GQ. We went right to our battle stations right away when we heard it. And we used to hear them yell over since we were the commodore of the convoy, we had a small TBY radio with the escorts. And we used to hear them yell, "Hey, we got him, we got him." And they were cheering that they sunk a submarine, So.
Wow.
And then I actually crossed the North Atlantic 12 times, 6 round trips. And I went to Marseille, France, Naples, Italy, Oran, North Africa, Rock of Gibraltar. Of course, you had to get into the Mediterranean. And so I've actually went across the Atlantic 12 times.
So you just went, came back,
Yeah, stay long enough for them to load the ship up. We'd get a port director's leave. That was one of the highest leaves there was. If you wanted to go home, they arranged for a flight, DC-3, to come home. And if it was officers, high up officers in Army or Navy that were on that plane, they took them off. I had the highest priority because they're going home and coming right back.
Wow.
So that was quite a thing. But then in that was 44. Then in 46, I didn't have enough points to get out of the Navy, so I was shipped out to California. And I thought I was going to have to be on a ship out in the Pacific. But they lost my sea bag in Chicago. They found it on Grand Avenue in Chicago. This is a fact. And so they finally got it to me out in California, and I was making milkshakes in a hostess house. And just waiting to get enough points to get out. I got out, and then I came home, latter part of 46.
Wow.
So that's my history.
So what did you do after you got back?
Well, I went to school. I hadn't had any college education, so I went to an accounting school in Chicago because I wanted to go into business with my dad. And I took a 3-month accounting course. In other words, a whole year's accounting course in 3 months, and passed it right on top, no trouble at all. And they said, well, aren't you going to stay in and become an accountant? I said, no. They were so mad that I didn't stay. I just wanted to go in, and I used the accounting in the business when I was with my dad. We were manufacturers, rep with building products.
Wow. So you did that.
Did you ever go to Nordstrom and Oak Brook?
Oh, yeah.
I went through my doors, all those bronze doors.
Oh, doors are your...
Those are all mine, yeah. So,
I'll have to take a closer look next time I go
Yeah.
through.
yeah.
When did you retire?
I had retired in 96, 12 years ago.
Good for you.
And I was, 70 or 71 then, because I'm 83 now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. That's great.
Yeah, I've got a grandson who's 17, and hope he doesn't have to do anything now.